Shove it, man!
I don't know what my future holds. You can take this microphone and shove it up your ass.
Hello, Shove It Squad. I originally wanted to end the month of December with my Ric Flair video, but recent events have made me change my plans. I'm sure by now most of you have caught up with the sad news that Don West passed away yesterday from brain lymphoma at the age of 59. And I thought a small tribute would be a great way to end this crazy month. At the end of the day, this channel has a big focus on TNA. I've got to honour Don West, really. Don West is of course best known for being the voice of TNA alongside Mike Tenay. But first, Don West made his name working on the Shop From Home network. He would often appear on late night television selling sports memorabilia and Beanie Babies, and he was very successful at that. He grew their sales to $150 million. Eventually he made his shopping company $1 billion over 8 years, although I'm not sure if that's true. It was thanks to the shopping network that Russo and Borash first noticed he existed, and they were hooked on his personality. Now there's been people saying Don West was first in ECW as a security guard. This is not true. The guy who you're seeing now is actually Mike Folis. What a resemblance though. West's very first involvement in wrestling was when Russo tried to hire him at WCW, but with them on the verge of closing up, that didn't materialise. West had no prior involvement in wrestling, although he was a fan. When TNA started up in 2002, Vince Russo introduced Jeff Jarrett to Don West, and he was made the colour commentator for the show alongside Mike Tenay from WCW and Ed Ferrara, although he wouldn't last more than a couple of months. Don West was actually the very first person to walk down the TNA ramp in episode 1. Considering this is his first wrestling commentary gig, he's confident right from the get-go. Don West was a massive part of the show in the early days. TNA often had him running down the card on camera, and he never missed a beat. His passion and energy for the card that night in turn hyped up the live audience. He made you care. The way he shouted would be impossible to copy. Nobody had energy like Don West. His energy and passion is perhaps best seen when a match was taking place between the heel team of Triple X and the face team of the Amazing Red and the SATs. You could just hear West on commentary begging, almost pleading for Amazing Red to win. He eventually ends up stood on the commentary desk leading the crowd in a chant of "Go Red Go," and they actually all go along with him. According to West, this whole thing was pretty legit, and he was already standing up shaking with excitement at the match, and then the producers gave him the all clear to let loose, and he didn't hold back and climbed up on the commentary desk. It's probably one of my favourite early TNA memories. The promotion for Amazing Red never really lasted, as Red disappeared often in the early days of TNA, often opting to wrestle in Japan, so it's hard to get any real storylines going with him. One of Don West's favourite early TNA memories is how the cage dancer girls would ask him if their outfits looked okay on the night. This shows how comfortable people must have been talking to Don. He continues to be on commentary of TNA for the next 6 years. He's known for his special phrases, like most good commentators will be. Don liked to say, "Unfrickin' real, unfrickin' believable, and you've got to be kidding me." He always seemed to be at his most hyped during the X Division matches. But Don West had this uncanny ability to make you somehow excited for something that was obviously shit. At the same time as being a TNA commentator, TNA used him to increase product sales. He even had his own special sale gimmick called the Brown Bag Special. It was basically a mystery box of TNA goodies, but this kind of thing was much more unheard of back then. As the decade went on, TNA grew bigger and bigger, and the fans started dreaming of perhaps one day being bigger than the WWE. The fans got greedy and forgot what made TNA the company it was. All that mattered was star power and who they should sign next. It's like everyone who got them to where they were was disregarded and forgotten about. And the reason I say this is back in 2008, fans on the message boards were full of criticism for Don West. They wanted him to be replaced. Be careful what you wish for. He was criticised for being too loud and having breathing problems, making loud noises between sentences. He would yell until he had no air left in his body. Things would suddenly change in 2009, and what a change. On an episode of Impact in February, Don West started arguing with Mike Tenay for being an ass kisser. He threw down his headset and got a microphone. He revealed that TNA had been having meetings about the company's future, and the subject of Don West's future came up. Mike Tenay was in the meetings and he didn't defend Don West. He calls Mike Tenay nothing but a selfish prick, which is possibly one of my favourite TNA soundbites of all time.
You're nothing but a selfish prick!
He tells Mike Tenay to shove the microphone up his ass and leaves him to call the rest of the TNA show on his own. He pulls the same thing on the next episode of TNA 2. He just can't stand Mike Tenay anymore. He turns up late to the following episode of Impact with Tenay accusing him of smelling like a brewery. And this is how things would remain for the next few months. Don West would be a miserable heel commentator who was depressed and possibly had a drinking problem. He no longer loved Amazing Red and he was now much more interested in the beautiful people. He was alright as a heel commentator, but sometimes the arguing with Mike Tenay went a bit too far. He's replaced on another episode by Mick Foley. Things carried on like this until August 2009. Taz debuted in July, and he was a pointless member of the main event Mafia, and it must have been surreal because everyone could see what was about to happen here. Taz was of course known for his commentary on SmackDown. He had a hardcore fan following and was seen as a star in wrestling, and he couldn't actually wrestle anymore due to his neck. Don West lasted on commentary for a few more weeks before it was announced in August by Mike Tenay that Taz had replaced him. Now I'm still a bit sore about this one. I get that TNA wanted to add some star power to the show, but Don West had always been a loyal, passionate employee, and now he was a victim of the internet message boards. Tenay said Don West had been promoted into the TNA merchandise section. It didn't feel like a promotion to me. But Don West revealed in a 2010 interview that it was actually a promotion. He was pretty humble and said there was no issues with Taz. He understood that Taz was a far bigger star than him, and both he and Taz can be more effective for TNA in their new roles. It's hard to say if Taz was good for TNA. He was hilarious, but I don't think he cared for the product the same way Don West did. With Don West, it felt like it was more of a passion than a job. Taz often spent time laughing at the wrestlers and making fun of dumb things that went on in TNA, whilst Don West would have tried to make it seem good. But ultimately, there's no heat on Taz here. It was just a sign of a new TNA trying to reach a new level. I'm sure Taz cost a lot more than West did too. Don West reportedly made TNA a fair bit of money in his new role, and it's something that Slapnuts had considered having him do since the start of TNA. So Don West went on the road with TNA to every single house show. He and his sales pitches often became a highlight of the show. And let me tell you, if you ever went to a TNA house show, he's probably one of the things you remember. Yeah, he was just trying to get you to part with your money, but he just added to the TNA experience. I think it was his passion and excitement. Some fans still missed having him on TNA TV though. These fans would get their wish when Don West randomly returned to TNA as an on-screen character. He was paired with the Amazing Red, who had recently returned to TNA and captured the X Division title. West made his return in October 2009. This was a really cool throwback because he had been like Amazing Red's #1 fan in the early days, and now they were paired together. Amazing Red was an incredible wrestler who unfortunately had some of the worst promo skills of all time, so it made sense. Don West described himself as the #1 Amazing Red fan. It was a fun pairing and it seemed to be helping Red. In fact, in an interview this year, Red credits Don West with giving him confidence and belief in himself. So it all seemed to be going well, but there was a dark cloud forming on the horizon. Yes, it was time for the Hulk Hogan TNA era. For completely no reason, Don West was removed from the product without explanation. He went back to selling merchandise behind the scenes. Now, it's easy to blame everything from this era on Hogan and Bischoff, but this one might not actually be down to the Grey Crew. Don West stated that he was struggling doing all the house shows and making TV each week whilst having time for his family, so he had to step back from the role as Amazing Red's manager. West left TNA in 2012 after having an offer to be part of sales and merchandise for a hockey team. And I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, sorry guys. Wenatchee Wild Ice Hockey. He would pop back up in TNA from time to time, most notably in 2017, when he worked for their merchandise team again. He also got to do commentary on Slammiversary 2017 pay-per-view. Throughout 2021, there was lots of news that Don West was not in the best of health and had begun treatment for brain lymphoma. And then on the 30th of December 2022, yesterday, Mike Tenay released a tweet confirming the passing of Don West. The most surprising thing to me that was WWE actually acknowledged Don West's passing on the most recent SmackDown. Michael Cole offered his condolences during the opening match and stated Don West had made a true impact on professional wrestling. A very classy move, especially considering Don West had never been in the WWE. It shows that people had really grown up behind the scenes. Tweets poured in from TNA wrestlers offering their condolences. I'm interested to see how Impact Wrestling addresses this on their next show because Don West was a ginormous part of their company for 10 years. I think it's very telling that during my research I haven't read a single wrestler talk negatively about Don West. West is survived by his wife Terry. For me, Don West is a true example of appreciate what you've got because one day it could be gone. I don't truly know if him leaving commentary for Taz was what he wanted, but the fact is TNA fans did not stick up for him. Then they were annoyed when Mike Tenay and Taz came across as bored every single week, so they missed Don West, who was never bored. He was a larger-than-life individual whose impact in TNA helped turn them into a legit second choice in wrestling. And I will personally look to Don West for inspiration whenever I have to make a video about something that could be boring to me, but it won't be for the viewers if I bring the personality and excitement. Rest in peace, Don West. Thank you for the memories.
Big Papa Bob, Scott Steiner,